We have What Does the Bible Say? And Pastor Mathison, we would like to know, what does the Bible say about the second coming of Jesus?
Thank you so much, Sister Edith. We are looking at what does the Bible say concerning the signs of the second coming of Christ, and we are going to do part one this week, and next week we will be doing part two. We're looking at the book of Matthew chapter 24. Jesus had mentioned to the disciples about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. And so Jesus was sitting at the Mount of Olives, and his disciples, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, they came to him privately and they asked him a question. In verse 3 of Matthew 24, they asked him, they said, "Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the world?" Now, that's a two-part question, because Jesus had, was talking about the temple, Jerusalem, and the destruction. And they were asking about that. Plus, they were asking about, I want you to tell us about the signs also concerning the end of the world and of your coming. You see, the disciples, they understood, or they believed, that Jesus would be going away for a while, but then he would come back to take his kingdom. That was their understanding, or their belief. They were thinking that the destruction of Jerusalem, or the destruction of the temple of Jerusalem, and the second coming of Christ were closely united. They conceived that, or the events, to take place simultaneously or in rapid succession. The temple in Jerusalem, it was destroyed 7 years after the construction was finished, which is in AD 63. It was destroyed by the army of Titus, the Roman army, Titus. And even though he himself, Titus, tried to save it, was just in vain. And we skip to verse 21, because Jesus talked about some things earlier that would happen surrounding the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, towards his coming, verse 21, it says, "For then shall be great tribulation." There shall be great tribulations, talking about his coming now, "such as never was since the beginning of the world to this time. No, not ever shall be." Verse 21 of St. Matthew chapter 24, forward, it's pointed exclusively to the end of the world. So from verse 21, it's about the end of the world and Christ coming. This begins with the Great Tribulation, which was mentioned earlier, which began 538 AD during the 1260 years of papal supremacy and persecution. And this was predicted in Daniel 7, verses 23 through 25. Jesus, I'm continuing to say that if someone comes and says that here is, or here is, do not believe them. For there shall arise false Christ and false prophets, and they shall bring forth signs and wonders. The signs and wonders will look so real that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. So Jesus saying they will come in all forms, they will do a lot of signs and so forth. Do not believe them. Do not believe them. Jesus even continued. He emphasized that. He said, "Behold, I've told you this. I've told you this. I'm telling you now. I've told you this before, so that if it happens, do not believe them." And in verse 27, Jesus, he talked about how his coming will be. He said, "For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall the Son, or the coming of the Son of Man, be." There will be no secret about Jesus' coming. No secret at all. No secret rapture. That's out of it. No secret at all. all eyes shall see him. Everyone will see him coming in the clouds of heaven. Sometimes the question has been asked, at times, if the earth is round, how everyone would see it? Jesus can do all things. He can change and turn it flat so that everybody will see it. But he says it, and it will happen. All eyes shall see him. No secret rapture at all. In verse 29, Jesus went back to the tribulation that we spoke about, mentioned in verse 21. Immediately, Jesus said, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Now, in Matthew and Mark, it's referred to the 1260 years of papal persecution, which terminated at the end of the 1260 years, which is in 1798. So it started in 538 AD, ended in 1798. And it talks about all the horrific things that Christians went through, the persecution for 1260 years of papal supremacy, papal reign. And if you want to know more about that, you can read what's called Fox's Book of Martyrs. It talks about the persecution that Christians had for their faith throughout the years of papal reign. And then it says that the sun shall be darkened. Christ saying that after these persecution, immediately it said, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, stars of heaven shall be shaken. So, hear this. In May 19, 1780, the sun was darkened. It was not an eclipse. It was darkened completely. It's called the Great Dark Day. And listen to this. On the same night of the sun being darkened, the same night of the Great Dark Day, the moon's light was veiled. It was reported to be or to look like blood. So it happened. Both happened 1780, May 19, 1780. And also, the fulfillment of the falling stars took place November 13, 1833. It was referred to as the greatest meteor shower in history. These are ordained to herald Jesus's return. We'll stop here for now. Next week, we'll go to part 2. God bless you so much.